Center for Knowledge Sovereignty is a 12-year-old independent, non-partisan public policy think tank.
The Silk Route which was there, now the Silk Route they want to revive in a modern way. So that is what I'm...
The Center for Knowledge Sovereignty and each one of the participants of today's event.
Namaste, Jai Hind, good evening and a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of CKS, that is Center for Knowledge Sovereignty. CKS Center for Knowledge Sovereignty is a 12-year-old independent, non-partisan public policy think tank that has been spreading awareness about knowledge and data sovereignty, data and cybersecurity and information warfare and geopolitics at strategic, political and national levels. CKS is led by decorated veterans, former DGMO and head of the Shekatkar Committee of Defence Studies, Lieutenant General Dr. D. Shekatkar as the chairman, and veteran and former DGMO Lieutenant General V.M. Patil as vice chairman, and Mr. Vineet Goenka is the secretary of CKS. CKS has been fortunate to have hosted several dignitaries and luminaries from the world of politics, defense, academics, science, research, technology, and corporates on its platform on a wide range of topics. In the month of June and July 2021, CKS had organized a 5-part webinar series, Thus Spake Generals Season 1. It was very well attended and received by audiences from across the world. We had distinguished dignitaries such as Lieutenant General Shankar, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, Vice Admiral Sekhar Sinha, and Air Marshal SS Soman as the speakers during the session 1 or season 1 of this Thus Spake General 5-part webinar series. CKS is honored and privileged to host from our platform the season 2 series of the 5 webinars talk Thus Spake Generals. The first talk last weekend was by veteran AVM, that is Air Vice Marshal Dr. Arjun Subramaniam. Today the second talk of the season, and we are honored and privileged to have with us veteran Air Marshal Anil Khosla, PVSM, AVSM and VM, former Vice Chief of Air Staff. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I am sure the audience is eagerly waiting to hear from you. Air Marshal Anil Khosla is an ace fighter pilot who has to his credit over 4,000 hours of accident-free flying, mainly on different variants of Jogger, MiG-21 and Kiran aircraft. In his illustrious career, he held very important staff appointments at higher ranks like VCAs, Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Eastern Air Command, Director General Air Operations and Senior Air Staff Officer, Central Air Command. He, during his tenure, deftly handled Doklam operations with China and Balakot airstrike against Pakistan. He is an alumnus of the National Defence College and has had the distinction of standing first in the order of merit in all the attended courses, be it Flying Instructor course, Fighter Strike Leaders course or the Staff course. He has worked extensively with the Army and the Navy and was associated with a number of government ministries and agencies including the NTRO, DRDO, ISRO, NDMA, Defence, PSUs, etc. For his distinguished service, Air Marshal Anil Khosla has been awarded 3 presidential awards, namely the Param Vishishta Seva Medal (PVSM), Ati Vishishta Seva Medal (AVSM), and Vayu Sena Medal (VSM). He holds 2 MPhil degrees, one on defense and strategic studies, and is pursuing a PhD on China. He is widely acclaimed speaker on military and strategic issues and has delivered various lectures on a wide range of topics, be it on air power, leadership or geopolitical issues at different forums. He is a distinguished fellow at United Services Institute and Center of Air Power Studies. He is on the editorial board of College of Air Warfare Journal and is working with a number of think tanks and organizations. Now I request Air Vice Marshal Pranay Sinha, VSM retired, moderator of this session, to take the program further. Viewers, for your information, AVM Pranay Sinha is trained on MiG-21, MiG-23BN and Su-30 aircraft, and during his 35 years of distinguished career, he held various important field and staff appointments Post-retirement in September 18, he worked for 3 years as an advisor to Bharat Electronics Limited and is an active member of our think tank. Before I hand over the stage to AVM Sinha, I want to quickly update you that next week we will be hosting veteran Lieutenant General Dipender Singh Hooda, the man behind the surgical strikes, on next Saturday at 4 p.m. Also, I would like to highlight here that this event is being broadcast on social media through Facebook and other channels and will be widely circulated later as well. So over to you, AVM Sinha sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sumitra madam, for info of all. Madam is Director of Rating Infotech and CEO of Triangle Global, a leading reputed staffing and recruitment company, and also she is the pillar of strength of our CKS India. Now, before we invite day's speaker, who also happens to be the national champion of solving puzzles, to solve the Chinese conundrum for us, request all to put your question, relevant question, in the chat box. Viewers, this pandemic has given China the strategic opportunity to realize its grand dream of new world, to rejuvenate the Chinese nation and fulfill its unfinished expansionist agenda. This week, just concluded 6th plenum session of 19th CPC has re-endorsed and reaffirmed the great helmsman Xi's philosophy, new era of socialism with Chinese characteristics. The son of heaven is an ardent admirer of Confucius' preaching. The desire to succeed, the urge to reach full potential is through personal excellence. And so he has amassed all authorities, be it the General Secretary of CPC or Chairman of Military Commission or President of China, not only for the third term, probably for eternity. Xi Jinping is also a firm believer of Sun Tzu dictum, deception, deceit, and of diversionary tactics. Thus, how Red Chimera would behave is very difficult to predict. His intentions and indications are varied and misleading. However, today we have, as said earlier, the Sudoku solver par excellence, former Vice Chief of Air Staff, veteran Air Marshal Anil Khosla, to dissect and decode the dragon's brain. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, CKS Chairman General Shekatkar, Vinitji, AVM Sinha, and thank you, Sumitra ma'am, for saying nice words for me. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my findings and some of my views on the subject, and very, very relevant subject and very live subject at the moment. Everyone is wondering what will be the dragon doing next and what is dragon up to. So it's a very, very interesting topic and interesting times, I would say. And I would say that whatever I'm going to say is my personal views and nothing to do with the Indian Air Force, or this is all whatever study I've done post-retirement, and so this is my personal views. I'm actually feeling overwhelmed with the kind of participation and the panel and the participant list which I'm seeing, that so many eminent people are there listening to you all rather than talking. But anyway, I will just convey my whatever findings I have done. I've been following China for quite some time while in service and post-service, and my interest has been to see how does the Chinese dragon's brain work actually. How does he take decisions? What is the influences? What are the factors? How does he think? How does he behave? Why does he behave in such a way? So those aspects. In next 20-25 minutes, I will tag a few issues related to how does China's mindset work. So, Marshal Sinha brought out. So when you talk about China, you don't know what he's going to do next. I mean, when you say China, what are the words which come to the mind? That China is a riddle, it's an enigma, it's a mystery, it's a closed society, it's very secretive, it is autocratic, oppressive, dictatorial, unreliable, unpredictable, deceitful, untrustworthy, unscrupulous, aggressive, belligerent. I think these are the words maybe which strike to human mind when you talk about China. I call it that the Chinese brain is slightly differently wired. So they think differently and they're differently wired. So what are the factors which go into it? So if you say historically, it's a thousands of years old of history, historical civilization with its ups and downs. And I think historically, all the events which have taken place have left a big mark on their psyche, big imprint on their psyche and mindset. They had very renowned thinkers and philosophers, and Chinese still go back in history to, what are the historical events or the philosophers had professed. A very classic example is this BRI Silk Route. The earlier when China was top of the world and doing very well, it was all because of the Silk Route which was there. Now the Silk Route they want to revive in a modern way. So that is what I'm trying to say, that historically they believe in a lot of history and they use history also. That's a different matter. So if you look at what drives China, what are the motivators? There are two motivators. One is the avoid century of humiliation. That is 1939 to 49, when they were overpowered by the foreign powers. They were subjected to, they were manipulated, colonized, humiliated, and that was a dark area. So they don't want ever to go back into those. So one of the drivers is to avoid the century of humiliation. And the second driver is the, regain the lost glory. That is a Middle Kingdom syndrome, which we call. That is the revival of the Middle Kingdom and getting their apex rightful place in the world order. So I have a theory saying that the Chinese don't look at the world as a sphere. They look at it as a cone. And they are in the center and they are on the top. So that is what I feel that is the Chinese thinking is. Now, other aspect of China, how it behaves is that they believe that they are an empire state and not a nation state. Somewhere down the line, I think this is a sort of a medieval thinking. In earlier years, empires used to be formed. The kings used to go out conquering countries and expanding the empires and all. But nowadays, in the modern world, there is no such quest. But Chinese mindset is still, I think, in medieval thinking in terms of empire. They think they are empire state. So, keeping their thinking in that base, what they have is three baser instincts. One is the territorial, they should have large territory. Secondly, they should have absolute power in the world. And third is they should have obeisance from all. So this is what they yearn for dealing with the world is. And they also feel that the stronger nations or the empires, they expand and the weaker, they shrink. So that is how I think their brain works. Now let's talk about a minute or two on the strategic culture. And Marshal Sinha also mentioned that Sun Tzu has left a lot of influence on their mind, and the art or the science of war, I think they pick up from the Sun Tzu. It is very interesting. When I was doing some research, debate goes on, what is war, is a art or a science? I'm just going off the topic a little bit. I found a very interesting quote by somebody who says the knowledge of the war is art, but the application of that knowledge is a science. So it is both art and a science. So Chinese believe a lot on Sun Tzu's saying that a classic example is, trying to achieve objectives without fighting. What modern day warfare, we call it gray zone warfare. Achieving whatever they want to do without firing a shot, without doing a gun, activities related to keeping it below the war level. So that is what Sun Tzu had professed, and the Chinese are going back to that philosophy of warfare. For them, everything and anything is a weapon. They can convert anything into a weapon and use it unscrupulously. Then, second of their Chinese strategic culture comes from their game, which is very common. It is akin to chess. It is not chess actually. We have Chaukhut in India. I mean, in ancient India, Chaukhut used to be there. And they have a sort of a Chinese checker. It is, I can't pronounce it very clearly, but it's a sort of a mind game in which you don't kill the opponent. You just surround it and make him surrender. And that is what they also believe in the warfare context also. Then third thing is they believe in the three war theory. That is, attack the mind rather than physical this thing. Identify the weakness of the enemy and exploit it. That is, by intimidating him psychologically, putting pressure on him. Second is using the media and propaganda warfare. And third is the legal warfare, which I said history. They'll produce some documents and claim that is the historical background and that is what it is, even at the cost of bringing on false narratives and these documents. So these are the three warfare theories they follow as far as strategic culture is concerned. And Chinese believe in ends, not the methods don't bother them. Their ends matter and not the means. So that is why one is opportunism. Okay, so and time and again over the years in the history, they have taken the opportunism without any scruples. Now this pandemic also, if you see, I'll come back to it slightly later. That pandemic time also, while the world was struggling with it, the China was doing its activities very aggressively and trying to gain out of that whole situation. Like Mao had said at one time, everything under the heaven is in a state of chaos. The situation is perfect. So that sums up their thinking of being opportunistic. The treaties and all, human rights, laws, norms, trust, morality, commitment, friendship, these words have got no meaning for them. These are all for exploitation and buying time as per their requirement. Treachery, blackmail, misinformation, deceit, deception, छल कपट जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग इंडिया में, वो it is an acceptable norm for them. It is a done thing. I mean, they don't feel bad about the whole. Okay, a word about China's domestic dynamics, the internal dynamics. Like every country has their dynamics, the political warfare or whatever you want to call it, and the leadership issues and the way of governing. And so China's internal dynamics, they believe that they want to propagate that leader is supreme. And then comes the party. That means the leader and then the party, they are the supreme. You have to have obeisance to these. And that is why he's consolidating his power more and more, as AVM Sinha also brought out. And he's giving more powers to himself, more powers to the party. In China, the thing is, you toe the line or you get eliminated or left out. They rule with the iron fist and cover it with velvet gloves. So, like classic example is, in their country, the defense forces, the army and the defense forces are owned by the party. It is like, in our country, if you say BJP owned the Indian Air Force, Army and Navy. So China uses the defense forces also to rule the country and also to save from the external threats, but to rule also. That is a major difference between China and any other country in the world. They keep their citizens like a tortoise shell inside a shell. The media is also two-faced. One media is for the consumption of outside world and one media is for the consumption of the local population. So that is how they. Then another very interesting aspect about China is their demography. The demography, when I talk about, there are two aspects to it. One is their age population. It is the one-child policy, because of one-child policy to control the population growth. What has happened is the average age has gone up drastically and it will continue going up in the following years. So what is happening is every youngster who joins the service or the defense forces or any other, he's got 4 to 6 old people looking to look after his parents, his wife's parents. So what happens is they are all reliant on them, plus their children. So each person is, 5 to 6 people are dependent on him. So they were very averse to body bags as far as war fighting is concerned. So this translates into their tendency to go into no contact warfare. That means long range vectors, unmanned platforms. See how demographic change is affecting the warfare in the country or the psyche of the country to conduct warfare. The second aspect related to demography is the way they are changing the demographic layout of all the areas which they have occupied. May it be Tibet, may it be Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang, even in northern side, in the Mongolian side. And same thing is going to happen in Hong Kong, maybe Taiwan if they get hold of. So this is in India and even in Bhutan, the recent news has come out, they're making these villages and all that near the borders. So they are expert at these demographic changes in whatever areas they're doing. One needs to be careful about. The way of ruling the country, there's an autocratic rule with the Chinese flavor. They consider democracy as a constraint in both decision making as well as for execution. That is their feeling. So in case you have to sum up their domestic dynamics, it's not sort of like a zero-sum game. Your loss is my gain. It's like survival of the fittest. Rivalry is also there, prevalent conflicts are there, deceit is there, shifting alliances, betrayals are there. So these are some of the fault lines also which are showing up in their country to some extent, not very great extent. So, but if you see all these things, it reminds me of a serial which used to come very popular, Game of Thrones. So their internal dynamics is something like it's an interesting dynamics. And at times the dynamics of internal dynamics, they apply to the external engagements also. So a word about China's external engagement with the world. So like all countries in the world have 3 classifications when you deal with other countries, that you are friendly, you are hostile, that means you're enemy, or you're neutral. Chinese have only 2 classifications. Either you're a friend or you're a support. There is no other classification. So they demand obeisance. either your friend or you subordinate to us. Okay, so this affects their dealing with other countries to large extent. They have only two real friends, that is Pakistan, North Korea, and all. But this is all marriage of convenience. Actually, they're not really friends. And as far as their engagements are concerned with the world, there's always an ulterior motive. There is always a hidden agenda. There is always something to benefit for themselves. There is no, so that is why the debt trap, checkbook diplomacy, which we talk about, they are driven by the hunger for natural resources, food, energy, rare earth metals, minerals, chip warfare. So all this drives them. So whenever they're engaging with the other countries, it is with the ulterior motive to gain something out of these. Then they engage the other countries by making infrastructure for them, and in the process taking some rights for mining or land or access to the operating bases and other things. It's sort of a win-win situation. That is how they engage with the other country. They respect strength. If you are strong, they will respect you. But if you show any weakness, they just trample over you, step over you, and move on. They prefer bilateral relations or engagements more than the multilateral. The reason is very straightforward. Because multilateral, what happens is it's a group dynamics, it's the strength of the group. Whereas unilaterally or bilaterally when they're engaging, they know your weaknesses and they can easily play against your weakness. So that is what their psyche is, to engage even more in bilateral rather than multilateral. A lot of debate went on by the China recent pandemic. Why did China behave the way it behaved in an aggressive and belligerent manner? I have a theory. I feel there were three reasons for this. One is power intoxication. Xi has become more and more powerful. Party has become very powerful. In that power intoxication, you feel that you're ruling the world. So that is one reason. Second, as I said, is opportunism. So opportunity exists. Everyone is fighting with the pandemic. Everyone is weak at the moment. Try and gain out of it. And third is maybe he thought that, of the pandemic and countries turning anti-China, maybe his dream of revival of the Chinese Middle Kingdom syndrome is slipping away. Case of slip between cup and the lip. So I think these are the three, or combination of these three factors, why he got into this wolf warrior diplomacy, threatening every country, warning every country. But then interesting was suddenly he stopped and stepped back. Now again, everyone was wondering why is he doing that? Maybe he made too many enemies. Maybe his purpose was solved to take attention away from the pandemic for which they were being blamed. Maybe their realization came that in the long run they will lose rather than gain. And maybe the realization came that their time to come to the top of the world has not yet come, and economic decoupling is hurting them. So it could be a combination of these reasons that China stepped back thereafter. Now a minute or two about Indo-China, and how do they look at India. So somebody summed it up very nicely. It is 3 E's: encirclement, entanglement, ensnarement. And very true, that is what they exactly do. So string of pearls everyone has heard, and all around us, Pakistan, Nepal, they're trying to make inroads in Bangladesh now, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Afghanistan, all around India. Now what is happening is not only access, they're trying to increase the interoperability also as far as their forces are concerned with these countries, so that if time comes, they can use these countries and against us by militarily or any other means. Salami slicing is a very common thing which everyone knows, and very true. They are doing it South China Sea. In India also they are doing the various incursions which keep taking place in the north, in the central sector and in the eastern sector. And these numbers are increasing by the year. So all the border issues they had almost with 14 countries, they have resolved, but India is still simmering. They have not yet resolved with us. So I have a theory, pressure cooker theory, I call it. So Chinese are expert at what they do is they put on this pressure cooker, but regulate the pressure in such a way that it doesn't go out of hand and the war doesn't break out. The actions, whatever they do, remain up to a certain level of pressure. And whenever they feel their objective is achieved or done, whatever slicing they have done, they reduce the pressure once. And I feel with India, they will continue to doing this, and this treaties, CBMs and all are there, but they keep twisting them around and keep going around them. And these activities against India are going to continue in future as well, till the time they achieve whatever they want to achieve. So these are the few thoughts which I thought, as far as Chinese thinking is concerned. They of course have certain fault lines also. Like if you have to deal with the dragon, so what are these fault lines? As somebody said, 3 T's, that is trade, Tibet and Taiwan. So trade is well known. Actually, the world has created a master. It's called factory of the world. All the major companies have that thing because there's a cheap labor. There is a cost of manufacturing is easy. The labor is controlled autocratically. They're told what to do. And so it works out cheaper. So all the major countries, all the major companies have got factories there to exploit this cheap labor and cheap cost of production. And in the process, the economic giant has been created. And with the economics increasing, obviously the military power is increasing and their belligerent attitude is coming. Second is Tibet, they are very touchy about it. And Taiwan, they are very touchy about it. Now to the list is increasing actually. Even Hong Kong, even Xinjiang private province and their human rights issues, South China Sea, all these are where he's showing his attitude, but he's touchy about these things. Economy is export based, as I said. So once again, decoupling is going to hurt them. That is one other fault line with them. Then they have a lot of hunger for energy, for natural resources. As I said earlier, food security. They have been taking land outside on lease or by whatever means to send their people and grow agriculture. They have been even sea. They have been trying to control more and more of sea area for exploiting the sea for seafood. And so food security is another issue for them because of the large population. Then domestic dissent and the other leaders, it's not showing that much because of very heavy-handed dealing with them does exist. So this is another fault line which exists. And Z seems that he is in too much of a hurry to consolidate his gains and to, make his dream come true. So these are few of the, fault lines as far as China is concerned. I will not go into military strengths and weaknesses because that is for the military to deal with it. And to deal with China, it is not only military. Now, coming to deal with China, I feel it's a whole of government approach, and it is not China. And also, what is happening is the Chinese, the warfare, they're mastering the art of gray zone warfare, as I said earlier, where they want to try and achieve their objectives without firing a shot, without body losses, without kinetic use of force. And that is what is called gray zone. And gray zone is not restricted to military use. It's not restricted to fighting with bombs and rockets and guns. It is, it could be anything. It could be diplomacy. It could be terrorism. It could be exploiting the social fault lines. It could be, water warfare. It could be CBRN, like we've seen pandemic, biological warfare. It could be, for example, about a few months back, I read when this decoupling was going on economic, they created an artificial shortage of containers because some countries put some restrictions on them. So what they did was they started paying for the containers which used to go empty to other countries. They started buying up the empty containers at a higher cost. And as a result, in the world, there was a container shortage. So they can use anything and everything as a weapon to achieve their. So we need to deal with them in all domains, in all sort of government approach, not only military, diplomatic, economic, military, as well as in cyber warfare, in space warfare, in information warfare, in every possible domain. But at the moment, they are way ahead. They are racing actually with the US and all the resources, all the capability building, going at a very, very rapid rate. And they are actually competing with US. So in that particular scenario, I don't think we can match them at the moment. So our philosophy should be bid for time, keep them engaged. At the same time, keep our mind open for collective security. Okay, that is a norm these days as far as security concerns are. Within that, a group of countries like-minded come together, and although India is averse to military alliances, and that's another topic in itself. But we should keep our mind open. If push comes to shove, we should resort to collective security to safeguard our interests. Then while dealing with them, we should keep that mind factor very important. That is, how does the Chinese mind work? The trust between India and China has been broken. From time to time, again, they have been hurting us by various means. So we should be speaking from position of strength. When we are eye to eye, we should not blink. We should be wary of their tactics or the strategy of, taking 3 steps forward, 1 back, and 1 or 2 sideways to confuse the issue. And in the process, gain 1 or 2 steps by salami slicing. We should be careful about those. As far as information warfare is concerned, once again, we need to be proactive and be careful about the narrative which they brings out. We should collectively, if we are going in for collective security, draw some red lines and promulgate them, and so that it's very clear that these are the red lines. Please don't cross this, and otherwise consequences. So those sort of things we should do. As far as diplomatically, I'll not go into diplomatic realm because that is not my core competency. But what I will just tag one or two issues. One is we should not lose neighbors. Very, very crucial. Slowly we are losing out on neighbors due to various reasons. So I think we should have a big brotherly attitude, be magnanimous, and keep them with us, and not let them play the card of India or China card, and keep them with us is very, very important to mind. And that is as far as diplomatically. Economically, I think the world has realized that time has come for decoupling, which is not very easy as such. And even for India, decoupling is not easy, but it has to be done. And it is being done in a certain way. I think we should encourage that and go into decoupling mode with China gradually so that we don't get hurt. I will not cover the military aspects of it, which I don't think is the thing, but one or two things I would say is that cyber and space is very important. So as I was saying, militarily I have not gone into how to deal with China, but few things I would tag. One is that, cyber warfare, they have really mastered the art, and they are reorientating themselves, the military modernization which they're doing. They formed a separate service itself called JSSF, that is Joint Strategic Support Force. And they put all the new domains which are there for warfare, the most ones which matter, cyber, your space, your information, your electronic, under one head, all their offensive, defensive capability in one head. So they are gearing up for that kind of modern warfare. So we have to be careful about it. Cyber warfare, space warfare, information warfare, electronic warfare, these aspects of it. Secondly, as I said, demographic, we need to be very, very careful about. And third is, water wars. Even in Doklam, when I was there, suddenly one fine day, although media is saying that they're making 17 odd dams in those rivers which are coming into India. And one of the dams is even larger than the 3 dams which is existing. And, one day the water turned totally black in Brahmaputra. While during Doklam, this is 1 year later, that before that, suddenly there was a onflow of water. And as per the international rules and regulations, they are supposed to share the data and the information with us. When asked for, they just say that, okay, this is natural because earthquake and all that has happened. So we have to be careful about these issues. Biological warfare, we already seen what has happened in the world. It has been termed as biological Pearl Harbor. So we need to be careful about these sort of warfare which is not conventional. So nutshell, in the end, I would say is that in case you have to deal with the dragon, there are 2-3 things. One is, as far as you have to speak from position of strength. So as far as India is concerned, time has come. I think so far, China was being considered that China is lying low at the moment. Maybe they were bidding their time to get their strength back and then start talking with the world. Now also the timelines actually they're given is 2035 for a very, very modern military, and 2049 world ready military, that is world standard. That means they are expecting to be number 1 by that time, but they're achieving most of the things earlier in time, unless the decoupling or the other things hurt them and slow them down. That is a different story. But at the moment they're racing very fast with the US. And so the time for India is that firstly, we need to spend on our strength, military strength and other strengths to deal with the dragon, because he respects strength. Even I would say, even if it is at the cost of development at the moment, so be it. We need to spend money, otherwise our development will also suffer and our security will also suffer. Both will suffer. And secondly, my biggest recommendation at the moment is that keep our mind open for collective security, because that is a way until the time we have adequate strength available. And keep our mind open if push comes to shove. Do it. And third is gear up for modern type of engagement, warfare, or whatever you want to call it. We need to gear up for that. The gray zone operations, gray zone warfare, the activities in all, not only military, diplomatic, military, economic domains, and in a synchronized manner. And so that is the need of the hour at the moment. That means we need to gear up for those, for the modern type of warfare. So these are the 3 major recommendations I have as far as dealing with the dragon is concerned. With that, I will finish, And I think I look forward to the interaction and input from all the extreme panelists, distinguished panelists who are there and the participants. And if you have any questions, I'll try and answer knowledge. Thank you very much once again for patiently hearing me and also giving me this opportunity to share my views and thoughts with you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for this enlightening talk and dissecting the dragon's brain. And what I can gather, the 3 recommendations from you, sir. Speak from the position of keep mind open for collective security and gear up for the modern day warfare. Sir, the first question which has come again is on the 3rd recommendation of yours, that is gear up for the modern day warfare. Dr. Anand, I can read that much. He is asking, sir, CCP is working hard and has multiple mouthpieces in the social media for 5th generation warfare. Their pages and ID has been spotted influencing common rural people. What should we do to tackle them? Sir, he is asking question on the propaganda war, on the PSYOPs being launched by the Chinese throughout across the media. What do you suggest, sir? How do we tackle?
Okay, so I'll start from a very pertinent question. And as I said, the Chinese believe in 3 warfare. That is your legal warfare, psychological warfare, media warfare, and the historical warfare. So these are the things that they do. So very truly, they are trying to put, all these videos of, how powerful they are, what they're doing and signaling, and obviously to influence the minds of the people and the adversaries, as well as some are for their local consumption as well. So obviously, we have to be ready for these and we have to counter for them. And not only during hostile times, even in the peacetime. As I said, gray zone warfare is basically a zone where you are not at war with the country, but you are at the same time you're not at peace with them. And anything and everything can be used as a weapon. And cyber and space, as well as media, means your social media, your media, is the fertile ground for gray zone operation. It's a fertile ground. These are the places where actual gray zone operations can continue, and can be harm to the adversary can be done by cyber warfare, by interfering with their systems, as well as psychological warfare through the media. So during peacetime, firstly, we need to call up their bluff. So, there are a lot of fake news problem which continues, and most of these videos, they try to show or impress their capabilities far much more than what they actually have. Actually, in some of these, they overdo it, and in the process, they make it unrealistic. I'll give you an example. They believe in deception. So they have a very good industry, as like toy industry. They have a very good industry. They will produce replicas of aircraft, tanks, and missiles, and some of them are, air-filled, rubberized this thing with radar reflecting surfaces or heat signature to make it more realistic as far as reconnaissance is concerned. At times, what they do is they don't realize that the air pressure is not adequate, and you find that the missile silos or the structures are warped a little bit. So you can make out that these are not the real ones; these are the artificial ones, and trying to project the far. So what I'm trying to say is that at times they try to overdo it. So one is to call off their bluff. That is number one. And second is obviously counter propaganda. They understand the language which they speak. So speak in their language, number 2. Number 3 is we need to have an organizational adaptation to deal with this kind of warfare. So 3 things need to be done. One is we need to have an organization within each service, Army, Navy, Air Force. Then one at a combined level, at a headquarter IDS level. And third, at a national level, where all ministries, all departments, all organizations come together. Organization which monitors and deals with these sort of psychological and information warfare. Number 1. Number 2, we need to have a sort of a ops room sort of concept where, there are 3-4 things. One is all these mediums are being monitored continuously for a content from them, or a harmful content from them, or a propaganda content from them, and they are tagged and proper response is given. Also, you need to have a QRT sort of concept, quick reaction team sort of concept to deal with certain situations arising out of these. And third is we need to have a sort of continuous, update of our way of operating in these ops room sort of concept, a sort of R&D organization to know more and more how can their domains can be utilized for these operations propaganda and warfare and all, and to suggest methods to deal with them. That is called continuous evolution or to deal with the issue. So these are the 4 or 5 recommendations as far as dealing with the propaganda warfare is concerned. Yeah, Sinha sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, one more related question on the cyber from Madam Nikita Radhe. Again, she is saying that our IT Technology Act, Information Technology Act has not been drafted. Of course, it has been drafted, his input, it's not been issued till date. It's under parliamentary considerations. See, again asking how cyber crimes can be curbed. That you have already answered, sir. That how we should be tackling this fake narratives and cyber crime. We have to have a strong agency who can rebuke something like QRT. Sir, one question which has come is from Mr. Dharamveer. Well, he has said that again it is related to the NGOs which are being paid by this communist party, sir. Such NGOs try to disrupt our progress. An NGO has filed a case in Supreme Court for no construction of roads while infrastructures are most important as required by the Indian Army. So this is the recent case where in Uttarakhand we are building the road, widening the road, but there has been a case against this in Supreme Court to stop it. So how to deal such environmental NGOs who come in the name of liberty, freedom, and are basically paid by this Chinese agency, sir?
Very interesting observation, I must say, Dharamveer ji. I'm really impressed. I mean, really interesting. If you remember, I had said, these people, China, they try to understand what are your weaknesses and then exploit them. And as I said, they think that democratic way of operating is a weakness. They consider it as a weakness in terms of decision making and also execution. That is exactly what they are doing. What example you have given him, like they have paid the NGO, and the NGO, I'm not sure which NGO are you referring to. I'm not casting any aspersions on any NGO as such. I have no idea. But that is what they do. I mean, they try to put spokes in your this thing by whatever means. It's the ends which matter and not the means. All these things fall in place in this observation. So to deal with it, government needs to have certain promulgation of rules and regulations as far as these things are concerned, related to security matters of the country. And when it comes to security matters, they should have a clear-cut set of rules that beyond, as far as these matters are concerned, the normal rules, which are the democratic rules, do not apply, but these are the security rules which will apply. Of course, keeping a balance between the democratic way of working and the country's security requirement. I think a formulation of national security strategy, which a lot of attempts have been made to make at this document, which other countries are doing. USA has almost 17 of these documents in the last 30 years. Every president signs it, 40 to 70 page document, which gives you, okay, what is the security issues, what are the challenges internal, what are the challenges external, cyber security, space, everything all encompassing, internal security, insurgency, everything encompassing, and how to deal with them. Once that document comes out, I think that will be a good guideline to give direction to even the legal branch of the country to deal with such cases. And second is, we should have some sort of regulatory mechanism on operating of these organizations. And this is my, once again, personal view. Even media, social media use, I think we need to have some sort of a regulation. At the moment, what happens is anything and everything comes onto the social media, whether it is, at times which is appropriate, not appropriate, or which, as far as security concerns, should come or should not come. So some sort of a regulatory issue should be put down by the government. That's what I feel. That's how to control these issues in future.
Thank you, sir. Thanks very much. It was really an enlightening talk. Hope the CKS viewers would be really, really enlightened with your dissection and your decoding the dragons. They are definitely the people who exploits the plurality of the democracy, sir, disrupt the diversity, and tries to create all sort of fissures in either in the terms of faith and they find out find the loophole in your system and try to strangulate with the same. That is their way of doing. That is the dragon. And whatever they indicate, they do something else. Thanks, sir. And thanks for this takeaway. Of course, to speak from the position of strength, we have to be Atmanirbhar, and that's the only way. And we are progressing. Now I'll ask our legal eagle, Dr. Nagaratna. She is the Associate Professor of Law, Chief Coordinator of Advanced Center on Research, Development and Training in Cyber Laws and Forensic at National Law School, Bangalore, sir, of India University. I'll ask her to propose vote of thanks. Madam, over to you.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening to one and all. It is my pleasure to extend a formal vote of thanks during this virtual event. I, on behalf of the Center for Knowledge Sovereignty and each one of the participants of today's event, wholeheartedly thank our esteemed speaker of today's event, A. Marshal Anil Khosla, sir, for sharing his valuable views on decoding Dragon's brain and enlightening the audience on interesting aspect. Apart from focusing on China's strategies, the issues of concern with respect to Indo-Chinese power play, and also on focusing on the comprehensive strategies that India must adopt. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Our wholehearted thanks to also our esteemed participants. I'm happy to say that more than 730,000 viewers are as of now watching this event through various apps live. Thank you to each one of you participants for making this event an extremely meaningful one. Thanks to each one of you. I also thank wholeheartedly our wonderful organizing team from CKS for organizing this event and making all necessary arrangements. I must mention my deep sense of appreciation and thanks to Shri Vinod Goenka sir, who is the person behind this entire idea and execution of this idea of this series of talks. Thank you so much, sir. Heartfelt gratitude also to Shri AVM Sinha Sirji for again hosting this event, wonderfully organizing this event, and also for all the efforts taken even since days before we started this event. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks to Mrs. Sumitra Goenka ma'am for again giving your valuable inputs throughout this program as well as in arranging this program. Thanks a lot. Thanks to Ms. Deepa Prakash, Mr. Parish for organizing this event. Once again, deep sense of gratitude to each one of you. With the kind permission of the speaker and all the participants,